What I'm about to tell you about how to see Formula One cars for cheap on a circuit can sound a little bit testing to you. Back in 2019, Philly got me a really awesome Christmas present to go and see Formula One cars at the testing event at the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona. Yes, I know, it's not the most exciting circuit out there, but it's a classic no matter which way you look at it. It's been on the calendar for decades. The layout is synonymous with Formula One. Going to a Formula One test event is probably one of the best and most personal and special experiences you can probably have seeing Formula One cars going at full chat. Admittedly, it's for testing and there can be periods where there's no cars on the track, but you are sharing that experience with maybe just a few thousand people instead of a few 100,000 people, and it's certainly cheaper. If you just want to have general admission into the Circuit de Catalunya, it came out to about 22 quid, 30 bucks. And you can go anywhere around the perimeter of the track. You can just do a couple of loops around the track, spend your entire day there from every single vantage point. And trust me, Philly and I, on our city breaks, we do a lot of walking, and that's exactly what we did. I've been to a couple of test events before, back in the days of the 2000s, when Formula One teams could practically go testing whenever they wanted. I've actually seen David Coulthard spin out of Priory. Absolutely great with only 10 people watching. I've heard the Honda V10 from Jenson Button roar and punch the air every time there was a gear shift. Oh, it was magnificent. But unfortunately, you couldn't go and explore the circuit. You could only go to around about where Priory and Woodcott were. You had a burger van, and that was it. You really had to be dedicated to Formula One to go, especially in the cold. The V6s do sound a lot better in person than they do on TV. I still don't understand why they haven't dealt with the audio balancing for those engines. You really need to go to a track of some kind to hear the V6s roar in anger, and it's very, very nice. Yes, it is a little bit of a slog to get to the Circuit de Catalunya. It will cost you about maybe 40 to 50 euros for a cab to get there, or you can get some public transportation if available, but it's not too far out. It's about 20-25 minutes out from downtown Barcelona, where we were staying, and was actually a really nice time as well. Barcelona is a very, very nice city, albeit a little bit tired. You could practically spend the entire day there, from about 8 AM or so to about 5 PM. There's even a hotel not too far away from the track, so you can just rock up there for a few days, walk over to the circuit, and just watch Formula One cars going around. And especially in 2020, we practically got to see the near launch specs of those cars. No one would ever get that again because of the Rona. We then saw the cars back out again in Austria in June and July. So they'd have obviously been upgraded since then. So it was a really special experience to see those cars would have just come off the launch events, then going around the track. You can see all the pit crews going about their business from the grandstand for as long as you like. And especially now, since they're being televised, you can actually go and look and see what they're doing. They cannot cover them unless there's a major technical issue or if they've got the floor off or something like that. Not to mention, again, it's free to be on the grandstand, save for the general admission price. For the most part, Philly and I just walked around the track casually, getting some nice shots of turn 3, 4. We then got to see the nice little bit of the stadium complex when they got that down to turn 10 or something like that. Yes, that admittedly very awkward little chicanery. It's really, really fascinating to see that track when it's relatively quiet, seeing Formula One cars. It's just so special, I cannot tell you. It's such a very cost-effective way to see Formula One cars. There are options for food and drink as well, and there of course are merch stands where you want to get some merch, surprisingly cheap as well. At best, I probably reckon that there may have been maybe 1,000 to 2,000 people per day, and you could easily take about an hour to go around the circuit to walk around it. You're not really going to be bumping into too many people, so if you're not really fond of crowds but you like Formula One, this is a very good option. I'm not sure whether they're going to be coming back to the Circuit de Catalunya. Even if you go to Bahrain, it's still a nice holiday there, and you can get to see some Formula One cars for cheap. There's loads of forests around, so you can really get lost in all of the shrubbery, the foliage. There are bits where cameras would never go. But we didn't just do that, we actually got to have some paddock passes to go walk up and down the pit lane during the lunch break, as well as being up on the top area where you can watch the Formula One cars from up above, as well as getting some very nice food and drink as well. I've actually got this nice clip of Romain Grosjean coming out of the pits above the Haas garage. It's very nice. Why V6 still sound very good. Speaking of walking up and down the pit lane, it is a little bit clinical, I must admit. So what they do is they sort of either present the 2019 cars in the 2020 livery, or just the 2019 cars. Sometimes they're actually quite clever, and they have an extra slot which they just open the gates to, and that's where they've got everything on full display. But you can take pictures and you can get right up close. I remember seeing the McLaren MCL34 up close, and it's probably one of the nicest cars to look at that I've seen in a very long time. You can also go around to the back of the paddock, where all the press are, the media are, you can walk up and down. In fact, I actually shot something for camera and it was a little bit of a blooper of a couple of McLaren guys falling over, so here, have a look.
So a funny thing happened just now. I was just right here and then Carlos Sainz was just here. I didn't think I'd actually see him up close. He was just right there and he just walked past me. So out of all the times I wasn't being observant, he was right there. But yeah, I'm in Spain with Philly, of course. We're just here at McLaren, so that was really cool.
You actually get to touch Formula One tires. They are very, very hard and very, very sturdy, and they get very, very sharp as well in terms of texture after a couple of runs. Philly mistook somebody for George Russell because there are a lot of people who are very tall, very skinny, and wear a team t-shirt and jeans. So I said, look, that's George Russell over there. What, him? He looks very old. No, not that guy, him. That was George Russell because he is quite tall in person. And surprisingly, Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton are very short. I would honestly, if you can get the opportunity to go to Formula One testing, do so. You can pretty much just pick and choose where you want to go, and it's something where if you're not too fond of crowds, it's a very beneficial experience. And it's also really good just to kind of get to know what Formula One's all about without having to drop thousands of dollars just to go to a Grand Prix which you may or may not enjoy. You can get to know the sport quietly and comfortably. And not to mention, it's really cheap. Find little nooks and crannies which most people will never notice at a regular F1 event. It just feels special. Let me know in the comments if you plan to go to a Formula One testing event in the future, or if it's something that you would have liked to if you had the chance. I'll see you around.